Hello artists and comic book fans, my name is Ian Hannon. I'm a professional comic book colorist. I've had the honor of working with the top comic book publishers and artists in the business, and the pleasure of coloring the most popular comic books in the world, from Batman to X-Men. When I tell someone I color comic books, the first thing they say is, "Cool." Then they want to know how it's done. But while the colors are important, they're really only one aspect of a much larger process that typically involves more than one artist. And while the one-on-one conversation is always nice, I thought there might be a way to have it with a larger audience and provide you with an awesome demonstration. Something to show you how to use the techniques of professional comic book artists. So if you're looking to create your own comic book art, you've come to the right place. I've called upon friend and veteran comic book artist Richard Bennett to team up with me to demonstrate and discuss our own process of creating a comic book page. Our mission, to provide you with a solid, useful overview of how to take a comic book page from initial sketch to final colors. The result is this site, Comic Book Lab. You're about to discover our personal step-by-step system for creating comic book art. And while there are no hard rules for the crafting of a comic book page, Richard and I have formulated a process that has met both our creative expectations and the demands of an industry that runs on a deadline. But before we tell you how to get started, it's important to know a thing or two about the process. Once you have your scripted story, there are 3 traditional stages of the comic book art process: penciling, inking, and coloring. When you sign up, you will be issued with a username and password that will grant you access to our step-by-step system for all 3 stages. Let's start with the pencils, the first stage of creating a comic book page. It's important to know that penciling isn't just about crafting your hero's jawline or your spaceship's cockpit controls. No, it's about composition. Every good comic book page begins with a solid composition. So when you gain access to Comic Book Lab, your instruction will begin with veteran comic book artist Richard Bennett. Richard broke into comics in 1990, penciling and inking Cyber-Rad for Continuity Comics. Since then, he's penciled and inked various X-Men titles for Marvel Comics and a number of titles for Wildstorm Productions, including Brass. Following Richard's lead, you will begin with a loose sketch to establish the flow of the page. The reader's eye must be led from panel to panel in order for the story to unfold properly. Once this is accomplished, the task of rendering the creatures, characters, vehicles, weapons, landscapes, and other story elements can begin. And before you know it, good will rise to combat evil in a sequential tale reading left to right and top to bottom. Now a new medium must be brought into play: ink. By applying black ink to the page using brush, quill, and marker, the penciled art is taken to new levels of contrast, texture, and weight. Light and shadow collide in a dynamic illustration of high-stakes combat. But there is another stage to this process, a final act to this play: color. And for this, you will enter into the magical world of Adobe Photoshop with me, Ian Hannon, as I embellish upon Richard Bennett's art with my digital brush and palette. Hue and saturation bring mood, tone, and even temperature to bear. Foreground and background are put into high relief. Flesh is warmed, and armor is polished. And finally, with the addition of special effects, the piece is completed with cinematic results. And to make your experience even more awesome, we've added some additional bonuses. Your first bonus is in 2 parts: Richard's finished pencil drawing of our comic book page, and Richard's final inks. While your pencil artist is fleshing out his own page, you can practice inking over Richard's pencils. Or if you're the colorist of the bunch, skip right to the coloring portion and color Richard's inked page. Your second bonus will be my color palette. It has a range of flesh colors, a scorching combination of yellows and reds, and a variety of magentas, blues, and greens. Some of these will save you the trouble of having to mix reoccurring colors over and over. Your third bonus will be a set of Photoshop actions. They will allow you to prep a page to flat at different resolutions, set up a colored page for effects, and even trap a completed page for the printing press. And as your fourth bonus, you will gain access to our exclusive Facebook community, where you can share ideas, talk to, and collaborate with other comic book artists. We can't promise you a gig on a Batman title, but we guarantee you will learn how to apply valuable techniques to your penciling, inking, and coloring. If before 60 days you find that it's not your cup of tea, keep the bonuses and ask for your money back. So what are you waiting for? Sharpen your pencils, dust off your markers, fire up your computers, and let's make some comic books. Click the link below and join us in the Comic Book Lab.